Sarah. Hi, you guys. It's Friday. That means we have a new HOH, and it's time to talk about the live feed updates from today, what the HOH's plan is, who the noms are going to be. But first, if you're new to this channel, please click subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Hi. You guys, we got a Christian HOH, and I'm not going to lie, I've got a headache. This guy, this team, oh my goodness. First off, yay! I thought it was weird that he won last night. So his team, the Kings, had said that they wanted Alyssa to win. If they could throw the HOH to Alyssa, great. If they can't throw it to Alyssa, they'll throw it to Sarah Beth. And then if not, then Christian. So Christian was the last person on that team that they wanted to win HOH. And then when I saw how that HOH was so weird. They're working as a team, but they have individual turns. Whoever the last person is to put the puzzle piece together is the HOH. Okay, great. So you could build the whole puzzle, run back and let the next person put the last piece on, and you can decide who's going to be HOH. And apparently, so I should say, so like when Christian won, I was like, that doesn't make any sense. They had the option to let any of these three win, and Christian was the last person they wanted to win, but he won. What happened? Well, once the feeds came back, turns out Christian and Alyssa, they didn't hear the rules of the game. They didn't know that the last person to put the piece together would be the HOH. Sarah Beth was the only one who apparently had this information, and she said that's why she chose to go third. It was Christian, Alyssa, Sarah Beth. So she was hoping there'd be some like pieces, then she'd put the last pieces together and win HOH. But Alyssa and Christian are not the brightest bulbs in this house. And so here we are with Christian as an HOH, and he does not know what he's doing. He doesn't want the power. He doesn't even want to talk to people. His team even said, let's not leave you alone. Let's be in the meetings with you. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. It's basically an Alyssa HOH. It's also just a team HOH. It's very much just a team. A lot of team talk, a lot of group discussion. Christian's like not even paying attention in these group meetings. He could care less. But when Christian does have questions and Alyssa does direct him, so it is mostly an Alyssa HOH, she usually leads him down the wrong path. Because I'm going to be honest with you, she doesn't have great reads, and she's not the brightest person in the house. She's not dumb. Christian might be dumb. I don't know if he's dumb or if he just gets distracted. Like, I don't think he pays attention. I think he's just gets distracted. But she talks very assertively. She'll even talk louder if you try to talk. And she does not have any original points. She only reiterates what she heard, and they don't always make sense. So sometimes when the two of them are talking, this is how I feel. Because this HOH is not going to do either of them any good. This is not setting them up for the future. This is not helping them in any way. We just have to be entertained by the fact that they're not making any great decisions. Yeah. Xavier was like, sit up. Can you sit up when you talk? Can you pay attention? I mean, it's, whew. Yeah, poor Sarah Beth. She not only is the only smart person on this team. Well, I mean, Xavier is like book smart. I don't think he quite gets the game, but Sarah Beth is leagues ahead of these people, and they just talk over her and shut her down left and right. She can't get a sentence in with these people. Yeah. At one point, he just was like, I want to listen to Post Malone while you guys figure out who the noms are going to be. Woo! Any hoozle. No. He's there to look cute. That's it. That's it. But yes, Kyle, Claire won the wild card comp. The only thing we were really hanging out for here on this wild card comp was if Whitney was going to be able to win and get herself safe, since she is basically the house target, or at least the one that most people in the house can agree on. But she was eligible to play in this wild card, and so there wasn't going to be any final decisions until they knew if she was safe or not. She does not win. Claire is able to win by a lot, apparently. Kylan mentioned how far ahead she won. I'm not sure what the comp was. And I'm not sure exactly about all of the details of this wildcard safety, but it does sound like Claire got 2 weeks of safety. That I heard, if there were any consequences or risks that went along with this reward, that has not been discussed. That is not clear yet. Good day. Good day. Okay, let's get into the plan here. We do have a team meeting that happened last night that really just set me on the course of how this HOH was going to run. Again, this is when Christian is like listening to music and barely paying attention, and the team is telling him how they were going to think and what their noms were going to be. And before they even got in power, this team of the Kings had decided that Whitney and Hannah were the targets, and they kind of debated on who is actually their target, though. Sarah Beth strongly feels that Hannah should be targeted and go, and she's got some very solid points about how smart Hannah is, how she's not working with her, that she has said Sarah Beth's name. So Sarah Beth has a clear path here. Xavier obviously does everything he can to shut that down. He's working with Hannah. Hannah doesn't seem to be a threat. Sure, she's smart, but she's not winning anything, and I don't think she's really coming after us. Sarah Beth was able to get Alyssa worried about Hannah previously, but what killed me last night, what made me lose brain cells, was this team went in circles about targeting Hannah or targeting Whitney, but putting both of them up. Noms never shifted. It was always Whitney sitting next to Hannah, and they wasted so much of their time and my precious time talking about who's the target. Because the big point was Whitney's the house target. So anyone can get Whitney out next week. We don't need to do that for them. If our target is Hannah, let's get Hannah out. And I'm just yelling from here to the feeds of, you don't have the votes. If you are saying the house wants this person out and you put that person on the block, then how is this person not going home? They're saying the house wants this person out. We're going to put her on the block, but we want to target this person and get this person out. How does that math add up? I was just like losing my mind last night. Like, why is no one figuring this out? Like Sarah Beth, of all people, I feel like she should have been able to figure this out. Xavier might have figured it out, but not brought it up because he's trying to protect Hannah and he doesn't care to reveal that she doesn't have the votes. But Alyssa was literally saying, Whitney has the votes to leave. So let's put her next to Hannah and get Hannah out. And I was like, what? You guys, how? It was too much. It was too much for my little brain to handle, that they could not figure it out. There was one point when Sarah Beth was like, well, DX is dangerous and he is very close to Hannah. I think he'd probably prefer to work with Hannah over us. And everyone, again, just shuts her down. They shut most of what Sarah Beth says down. And they're just like, nah, he would never. Nah, he's with us. Nah, keep him around. Like, they just shut her down. And she's just like, okay. Like, she can't get anything done. So that was their missteps last night. This morning, Alyssa had decided that the target should just be Whitney anyway. So great. Who cares about the fact that you don't have the votes to get anyone but Whitney out? Anyway, fine. You're back on the target of Whitney. Who cares? For your game, Alyssa, not sure that getting Whitney out is a good idea, but whatever, if that's what you want to do. When they come back from the wild card comp, the Kings, still together as a team, bring in the Queens as a team. And now this is the majority of Royal Flush, right? So this is the majority alliance technically in the house. The Kings and the Queens plus Derek X. So Derek X is not in this meeting. So they bring the Queens in for this team meeting. And this is when Xavier was like, Christian, can you sit up? Because Christian's like on the bed and he's like, what do we do? Xavier's like, can you sit up and ask the question? Like, you need to lead this is all you. You need to lead this. And he's like, okay. And then he like tried to get a sentence out. And I think Alyssa was just like, who would you guys nominate? Queens, who would you guys nominate? And there was talk about Whitney. And then Sarah Beth was like, you guys, Hannah's coming for me. She has said my name and she's coming for me and she's probably going to win. Whitney's not going to win anything. Who cares about Whitney? She can't win anything. Hannah might win something and come for me. And literally everyone in the room is like, nah, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Nah. Because they're all working with Hannah. And Sarah Beth doesn't know this, but she should know this because an entire room basically telling you to your face that they don't care that someone's coming for you. This is not an alliance for you, Sarah Beth. They are not working for you. I don't know that Sarah Beth has any other options really. She's limited options, I should say, but no one is giving Sarah Beth the time of day here. She is like, you guys, Hannah will win things. She's smart and she's coming for me. And they're like, so Whitney she could win something. You never know. Whitney, you never know with comps. Whitney could win something. It gets a little, I don't know if it's like heated because they're not mad, but they're like very passionately shutting any Hannah talk down. And eventually Tiffany is like, okay, excuse me. And she interrupts to suggest Brittany. She was like, you guys are not even talking about this other person. And then Tiffany did a little throwing Brittany under the bus and said, Brittany has said she's coming for you, Christian, you, Alyssa. She said she'll put Xavier up because he put her up. Your whole team is threatened by Brittany. So why aren't we talking about Brittany? Then we get a whole discussion about Brittany. Alyssa is like, what? She said my name? She's coming for me? That she got a little alarmed. But basically, Christian has a really close relationship with Brittany. He doesn't want to put Brittany up. And the rest of the team, Xavier kind of feels the same. Like, no one's real motivated on the Kings to put up any Joker, especially Brittany. So eventually this talk like died down and they circled back to Whitney and Hannah basically. And Christian finally, thank goodness, Christian was like, because Tiffany was like, what do you want? Because he's not saying much and he's, you know, but she was like, what is it that you want? How can we help you? And he basically was like, look, if I didn't have any of y'all's input, I'd want to target Whitney. And I was like, thank you. You just said it. Fine. Does it make a lot of sense for your game? Not really. But like, if that's who you want to target, then like stop listening to this like whole team mentality is just like getting out of hand. Like it just, this is our last week of teams and I don't want to ever see a team meeting again. It's just, no, thank you. It is. And that's like only an inch better than a Christian HOH. It's just like, because there was another moment at some point in this conversation where Christian just like, while all the teams are talking, Christian like leans to Alyssa and he's like, but what about Derek X? Like he's a comp beast. Like he's a threat to my game. And you know, me in my head, I'm like, I love Derek X. I'm rooting for Derek X as much as a lot of people. I'm rooting for a lot of people. But I'm like, that's the answer. If you put Derek X next to Hannah, then you've got a battle. You don't know who's voting out who's working with who. That's who you should nominate if you're worried about these two people. But he like leans to Alyssa and he's like, Derek X, like that's who I should be worried about. And she just shuts it down. She's like, no, you need to keep him in your game. He's your shield. You need to keep him. And that's it. He's like, oh, okay. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, Alyssa has like this much more information than Christian. And she's just like blindly leading him down a path that's not really great for either of their games. But here we are, you guys. Are they making the best game decisions? No. But is it entertaining? I don't know. Is it? I don't know. It's just stressing me out right now. So after the queens leave, the kings are like, no, we're not going after a joker. If the queens are against the joker so much, they can take out the jokers themselves. That's not what we're here to do. We're going after Whitney and Hannah, and one of them will be our target. So they're still back to those are the nominees. And the jokers do come in and they have a team meeting and they really strongly throw Whitney under the bus and are like, we would target Whitney. Whitney's our target, you know, blah, 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 blah. They threw Whitney said she's coming for the couple, Christian and Alyssa, you know, like they threw Whitney under the bus quite a bit, said that's their target. So then after those team meetings were over, the kings were very much like, well, if everyone wants to go for Whitney, then let them go for Whitney and we'll go for Hannah. Again, missing the logic that if you put Whitney up next to Hannah, you ain't going for Hannah. But then Christian has a one-on-one with Hannah, and Hannah and Christian have talked game since the beginning of this season. She gave Christian and Alyssa advice early on about like, you guys need to keep your distance. Don't look like a couple. Like she has worked with them. Like she's not really against them in any other way than she knows that a showmance does need to be broken up at some point. So when she sits down with him, she's like, look, you know that I have always been there for you and I didn't have to give you advice. I didn't have to like talk game with you, but like I like you as a friend and like I will take this personally that if you come after me. And he's like, I know, I feel bad. I know, I don't want to do it. I don't know what I'm doing. And then it's like just a long conversation of her trying to get off the block, but him knowing that he really has no other option in his head and that she's going to go on the block. But I did find it interesting that Hannah never once expressed worry about being on the block. She said, I know that I have the votes to stay next to Whitney. And I was like, well, there's more proof to you, Christian, that you couldn't get Hannah out even if you wanted to. I mean, look at them, Adam. Look at them physically. Do they look like pawns? Oh, Brent. No, Brittany is not going on the block. The noms have not happened yet, but it will be Whitney and Hannah. And if they could please stop going in circles and stressing about who the target is, that would be great, because they don't get to really decide. Even if Christian and Alyssa said, Hannah's our target, they do not have the numbers to make that happen. And also, you don't know who's going to win veto. So none of this matters. Just put the two of them up. You're going to do it anyway. Yeah. Christian and Alyssa talk after he talks to Hannah. And he's like, she does want to work with us. She's not going against us. And Alyssa's like, I know, it's true. She'll work with us. She's smart enough to know to work with us, because she's been saying how smart Hannah is this whole time. So now she's smart enough to know to work with Christian and Alyssa. So I have to imagine their target in their heads is going to change a million times. But again, they don't have the votes. Who knows who will win veto? Whitney could win veto. Brittany could win veto. But it does not matter. Hannah, everyone will vote Whitney out. I don't even think there's anyone who will pull Whitney off the block. And I don't even know if Whitney would get any votes to stay. I don't even think that, I think it might be unanimous. So stop stressing about it, Christian. Stop stressing about it. Would she have put them up if she had won? Who, Hannah? Yeah. She would have put Christian and Alyssa up for sure. Everyone was going to put Christian and Alyssa up, except for the Kings. There was 2 house targets, the Showmance and Whitney, and it just mattered who won power. Hannah has 5 votes from the cookout, plus Derek X, Claire. At least. She has at least 7 votes. More than enough. I don't know what the wild card twist is. All I heard is that Claire won it and has 2 weeks of safety. What she had to do or risk for that, I do not know. But I know that she won it by a large margin. Why not have an alliance with Derek X, Hannah, Christian, Alyssa? That would be a great alliance. You know what? I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet. Everyone is in an alliance with everyone. It'll probably happen by the end of the weekend. Christian is not the sharpest tool in the shed, Shelley. You are correct. And Alyssa is not as well. Yeah. It's really interesting to watch an alliance of people talk when they have ulterior motives and different agendas. And then people just get caught in those crossfires. Sarah Beth, not getting any help. Christian and Alyssa, not really getting any help. Barely, the slightest bit of help. I think the wild card punishments were the last 2 weeks we had if you want safety, you have to swap teams. So they didn't take safety. That was a punishment. that they weren't willing to take. Then last week, if you were to take safety, 2 people from different teams would also be safe. That was a risk they weren't willing to take. I would have loved to have seen people who needed safety so much that they took those punishments. But it did not happen. Did not happen that way. So we didn't really get to see it. And yes, that's what we're talking about. Claire won it and has 2 weeks of safety. Whitney will be one of the nominees. Yep. She will for sure be going home next week. Well, nothing is for sure yet. We haven't played veto yet. But you don't think she can win. But yeah, exactly. If Whitney does not win veto, it doesn't matter who she's sitting next to. She has the votes to get out. She has the numbers to leave, not stay. I know, it's so exciting that we have so many gamers, and I really love that they talk strategy all day, most every day. And then to get this HOH, I think that's why it's like hurting my head more than usual, because there's so many people who are smart and can game, and I'm basically watching 2 people who can't quite figure it out try to figure it out, which is sometimes entertaining, but when there's other good gamers, I just kind of want to watch the other good gamers, you know? This was our last wild card comp. Teams will be over. Haven't really heard anyone talk about it, so I'm not sure if they were given that information yet, that teams are going to be over after this week. We might be waiting until they play this next HOH, and then Julie will tell them the teams are over. I personally can't wait. I've loved this team twist. I think it added something really interesting, and to have to throw to get someone off your team evicted, or understanding that your whole team is safe. You know, I really have liked it, but I'm definitely ready for it to go. Having team meetings is so ridiculous. Derek Frazier today was like, why are you asking me questions in front of my team? I'm playing an individual game, which is funny because like Derek F is like barely playing this game. But on the other hand, I was like, yes, good point. Like, why nobody reveals all of their information in these team meetings? They just kind of are like, yeah, you're safe. Whatever. And then individually, they'll give you information. So it's just such a waste of time to have these team meetings. Yes. And then this week will be our endurance comp, our first one for the season, which is so funny because the house guests thought it was going to be the second HOH comp was going to be endurance. And then they were like, well, then it's going to be the third one. So every week they've been expecting it and they haven't gotten it yet. So finally they'll get it. So I have to imagine that like as they get set up for the endurance comp, they'll get the information that teams are over and they can play for themselves. Statistically, don't teams usually last 4 weeks? I don't know what you mean statistically, but Julie told us that it was only going to be 4 weeks. So rulesly, guidelinesly, that's how they set it up, that it would be for 4 weeks. That's why we had our last wildcard comp today, our fourth one. Claire is on my team. Oh, I should put in her points today and see if that helped me. Busy has Christian, so him winning HOH, he's doing so well in our draft. I'm definitely rooting for Claire. She's a smart little cookie. Who do I think has the best chance to win an endurance comp? Well, it depends on the type of endurance. You know, are they holding onto a wall or are they holding on to like vines? Are they holding on to Like, are they standing on like a small thing and being smacked into something? It depends. Usually the smaller males or females do better because they just have less body weight to like hold on to for a long time. So I have to imagine Derek X would be really good at this, but I don't know that he'll want to win. I mean, I don't know who wants to win next week yet. We'll have to see. So Derek X, Alyssa could do well. She is a former gymnast, so I think that she's got some strength. Probably not Claire's thing. Christian doesn't even get to compete, which he'd probably be kind of bummed about. Yeah, I love the puppet on a string comp. And then that's not just your body weight, but that's like also balance. And I mean, Derek F, he's not going to do well. Claire and Derek F, I don't have high hopes for them. Probably not even Xavier. Like, he's just probably a little too tall. Tiffany might do well. Maybe. Yeah, I feel like Alyssa and Derek X would be my leaders, I would think. Ooh, Natalie, what did you ask? Will Whitney use her charm to get Xavier to use veto on her? No, unfortunately, that is fake. The two of them are both kind of using each other as they cuddle. And Xavier is on Christian's team. He's been very involved in these conversations about targeting Whitney. And he's also working hard to protect Hannah and the rest of the cookout. And if Whitney were to come off of the block, then Hannah's in danger and potentially Azza or Derek F are in danger, because those are more than likely the renoms to go up. Could be possibly Brittany, but Christian's been very clear that he doesn't want to put Brittany up. So he kind of thinks he has Brittany in his pocket. And that's actually one of his better reads. Although Brittany could be convinced to put him up. So it's hard to tell with Brittany. It's hard to tell. Yeah, I don't know. Kylan could do well. For sure. I wanted Brittany to win this. I wanted the Jokers to win this one. I thought that would have been hilarious if the Jokers had won this week. But instead, they'll be have-nots. I don't know if they're going to change nominations. Last person to talk to Alyssa definitely sways Alyssa, but there's no other nominations that are happening. It's going to be Whitney and Hannah. Okay, let me put in this comp win for Claire. And let me see. Oh, okay. So will that bump me up to 4 points? David also has 4 points, but Busy has 9 points with this Christian HOH. Really helped him out. Sarah, hi, I like your name. Will Claire even be eligible to play in HOH since she's safe for 2 weeks? That's a very good question. Those are logistics that we do not know, but I bet she is. I bet she's still eligible to play HOH because since the wild card is a totally separate comp, I bet she could still play HOH. What's the motivation for her to win it, though? If she's safe, she don't got to win. She's fine. Sebastian thinks a Tiffany backdoor is in the near future. I don't know about the near future. I think a backdoor might be in her future at some point, but people are not really catching on to her yet. So I don't know that it'll be near future. Christian just told DX that it was Whitney and Hannah going up. I thought they weren't allowed. Oh, well, Christian's not doing a great job. We already said that. He goes in between like, I'm not supposed to tell you, but everything you said is what I'm doing. Bless his heart. Our sweet little blue-eyed Christian. Bless his heart. I mean, it's funny because they don't, but they also really do work off of each other really well. So it does seem like they're almost one person. The Joker's team cracks me up. Who knew that they were going to be such good fits for each other? You know, like Sarah Beth is definitely on the wrong team. She should have been on the Aces. If Brent could have been on the Kings and Sarah Beth could have been on the Aces, I feel like things would have just been better for everybody. For them, not for us, but for them. But how the Jokers got themselves together perfectly, it's a miracle. They're perfect for each other. Hannah would definitely do great in an endurance comp. She's tiny. The noms are not official yet, but they will be. Whitney and Hannah will be going up. Oh, Ben, good question. Ozza and Tiffany are doing better. They're still not perfect. I don't think they're ever going to be back to what they were, but they have done a lot of laughing together. They've had some good conversations, you know, where Tiffany's not telling Ozza how to feel and Ozza's not arguing with Tiffany. So they're definitely doing better. I don't know how Frenchie put his Frenchness on that team of Jokers, but they are peas in a pod, that group. Yeah. Christian, I'm not supposed to tell you, but yes. Exactly. Oh, that's a good point, Maureen. Yeah, the punishment for safety is not being able to play in the next two HOHs, but that would be an easy, absolutely, I'll take that. I'd much rather be given safety and not have to play for it. So yeah, I'll take it. And I guess it could be looked at a punishment if you're thinking team-wise, but if you knew teams were gone, who cares, you know? I definitely want to see an Ozza win. I think that Ozza needs some power to get some respect in this game. Unfortunately, being on this Joker's team and staying back in that back bedroom is not doing much for her game and her little tiff with Tiffany. So if she could win an HOH, that would really be helpful. Otherwise, once we get to jury and the cookout turns on each other, she's going to be one of the first to go. Hi, thank you for the super chat. Yay. Glad you made it. Appreciate it. What alliances are still relevant? Well, the term relevant. The Royal Flush is somewhat relevant because they're a majority. But within this alliance, they know, half of them know that the showmance has to be broken up. So it's only relevant to a point, right? The cookout, very relevant. They're on track to make jury. They're all 6 going to make jury. At least 5 of them will make jury. Probably 6. And then from there, I really feel like it's just the duos, right? Tiffany and Claire, really relevant. Tiffany Kylan, very relevant. Kylan Xavier, somewhat relevant. Kylan Sarah Beth, somewhat relevant. They're an interesting duo. Sarah Beth tells Kylan everything. Kylan does not tell Sarah Beth everything. She doesn't know about the cookout. But when Kylan tries to convince Sarah of how she should think, she does not fall for it. She thinks for herself. So I don't think that's going to last. Derek X and Hannah, they're a duo, but Derek X and Kylan are a duo. I feel like the duos are more relevant this season. We were just talking about that. I think Derek X and Alyssa are the most likely to win an endurance comp, but it depends on, Vines is different than a wall, so it will depend. I agree. That would be a very entertaining HOH to have Derek F win. It might not make any sense, but it would be entertaining. But I think that about all the jokers. Any joker HOH will be entertaining. Yeah, you have to hand it to the cookout for staying undetected. They're doing a great job. They don't ever get all together, which is kind of why they've had problems, because they're not all communicating clearly, because they can't all get in a room. But because of that, they have stayed undetected. But I also just think okay, let's talk this through. Hi, Josh. Thanks for joining. Yeah, exactly. Hanging on a pole is different than hanging on a vine or hanging on a wall. So it will really depend on which endurance we get. Let's talk about the cookout. Okay. They're never all in a room together. They do not make it obvious. So it's not obvious to anyone else in the house. But let's say you're one of the white people in the house and you're like, well, I know that Tiffany and Kylan are really close, and I know that they're close with X. And I'm sitting here and I'm listening to them defend Hannah a lot. Do I think all of the people of color have banded together? I don't know that I could bring myself to think that, because then I'm going to feel like I've got some sort of racial issues, right? So I'm just wondering if it's harder for the Claires and the Sarah Beths of the world who are observant and can see how the house is working, but they don't want to go there. They don't want to say, is it color working against white? I don't know that anyone wants to go there, right? That's just that was me being putting myself in their shoes. I wouldn't want to go, wait, is there an alliance? Just I don't want any person of color to sit in a house and go, is there an alliance of white people trying to take us out? Even though we've seen it a lot, but you just don't want to process it. I don't think, and maybe that's just my opinion, but I think that's going to help keep the cookout under the radar. Hi, Miranda. Yeah. If Sarah Beth hasn't figured it out, I'm going to be shocked, because she's getting a lot of this information. She's sitting in a room with her alliance and going, why does no one care about someone coming for me and they are protecting Hannah? You got to think about it. That means something. I would love to see the pressure cooker, but I bet I'd be so disappointed, because it would never go the way that it did last time. People would start making deals so quickly. It'd be a 4-hour comp and nothing exciting happened. So I'm going to think of it as the beauty that it was. We had it once. You can't top it. That would be nice if Sarah Beth cam talked. The only time that I feel like I get close to a cam talk is when she talks to Kylan, because she does tell Kylan a lot. But if she starts figuring stuff out, like, I need to hear her say it. Yeah, maybe, Kathy. Maybe because she really was pushing hard today for Hannah in front of the kings and queens. And she even said at one point, she's like, it's really, what was the word she used? Like, frustrating or disheartening or something, or concerning. It's really concerning that you guys are defending Hannah so much, is kind of how she phrased it. And it's like, yeah, notice that. What does that mean? I don't know that Sarah Beth has a lot of options, but at least be aware of it so that you can see it coming, because you are shooting up that list as a target, Sarah Beth. Yeah, I don't even know if like he needs to, I mean, who needs to be officially in an alliance or not, but like they work with him. They want to like have him be the last person to be evicted before they start turning on the cookout. I mean, he's very in that group. And Tiffany had a good perspective of like, we have 6 of us, he has 1 of him. So considering him and protecting him is part of their jam. She has to know something. She has to know something's up. And if she can go to Claire about it, then maybe they can work something out. But again, what do? White girl go to white girl and go, hey, do you think all the people of color are working together? And then you're like, now what do we do? Well, you put 2 people of color up on the block to test that theory, but then we're just in an icky place, right? So Claire's got some good perspective of like seeing who's working with who, planting seeds to Tiffany that Kylan's not like super her number 2. You know, that's the best that Claire can do. I honestly don't know what the best is that Sarah Beth can do. She's in a tough spot. She's on the wrong team. Didn't work out for Sarah Beth. Yeah, I just wouldn't say anything. I wouldn't want to be that person. Right. Who wants to be that person and push it in that direction? What about the fact that 3 white men have left the game? Do they care about that? Well, it depends on who you are. I don't think anyone's thinking about, oh no, white people are leaving. I don't think that's the cast we have this year. We have a lot of smart women who are just happy that these, you know, like bro dudes have left. They weren't working with these guys. The house pretty much wanted these 3 dudes out. So it's not like anyone's like, dang it, I really could have had a better game if Brent had stayed. The only person is Azza, who thinks that if Frenchie had stayed, that would have been good for her game. But that's silly. That's silly. Thank you. Thank you very much. I feel like you more try to break the cracks instead of forming a counter alliance. Yeah. Well, you need to get some numbers together anytime you're going to break something up. And then, yeah, try to find those cracks. I agree. These are not just smart. There's a lot of smart people in this house, but we got a lot of good gamers, right? People who actually want to like see the big picture. They want to see all the possibilities. And that's what's really, really exciting about this season. And that's why it's kind of disappointing to have a Christian, Alyssa, HOH, is because they're not the gamers and they're going to just sort of accidentally fall into this targeting Whitney thing. And we didn't have any issue with the wild card. I don't know that we'll have an issue with the veto. And unfortunately, we might have a fourth week of basically the House voting one person out. But I don't know. Maybe something will come up. Whitney has to win veto for it to be any sort of change. No one's going to win it and take her down. So we'll see. And that means that the cookout doesn't have to show their cards. If Whitney wins veto, DF or Ozza might go up on the block, and then the cookout has to show cards. They have to figure something out. But odds are pretty low about that. Ozza is not playing how we thought she was in preseason. Very sad about that. But if she could get power, things might change. All right, let's wrap it up here, guys. To recap, Claire, 1 wild card. She has 2 weeks of safety. Nominees will be Whitney and Hannah. If those nominees stay the same, Hannah has the votes to stay. Whitney is the House target. If veto is used on Whitney, then maybe something else will happen. But as of now, even though Hannah's going on the block, she's totally fine. Well, okay, this is a good question, Dalton. If the House turns on Hannah, then it could expose the cookout. But who's the House? Because honestly, the cookout is the House at this point, right? Or the royal flush is the House. If Alyssa and Christian decide that the target is Hannah, they could rally Brittany. And that's it. So there's no House. The House can't turn on Hannah. Not going to work. Not going to work. All right, you guys, thank you for joining me live. Thank you for all your questions. I really enjoy it. And if you're watching later, please leave me a comment how you're feeling about the Christian HOH, how you feel about these noms. Could Whitney possibly win veto? Does Hannah win veto? She doesn't need to, but she probably wants to. You know. Thank you, guys. I will be back tomorrow for Survivor South Africa, and then I'll be back on Monday with David to talk about all the live feed spoilers from the weekend and Sunday's episode. So I will see you guys then. Have a wonderful weekend.